Good afternoon, my most beautiful, snuggly, and glorious babes and babettes. Oh my goodness, you're all so very cute. I'm your resident active advocate, and if I start going a bit, it's because my allergies are bothering me. I'm sorry. The weather got better, I opened the windows, and now I'm stuffy. Anyway, today I shall continue to talk about the truth and reconciliation, and start off where we left off yesterday, under the heading of media and reconciliation. We left off on call to action number, if this thing would maximize, there we go, call to action number 86, professional as always, right, Lil? Right, yay! Okay, so call to action number 86 commences as follows. We call upon Canadian journalism programs and media schools to require education for all students on the history of Aboriginal peoples, including the history and legacy of residential schools, the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, which I love, treaties and Aboriginal rights, Indigenous law, and Aboriginal Crown relations. I never attended a media arts school. I have never gone into journalism, so from first-hand experience, I have no idea whether this happened. The only media course I've ever taken was in high school, and it wasn't that diverse, really, especially to the point of talking about, quote, other cultures. That's the first time I've actually said quote in quite a few videos, okay, so don't judge me. But, yeah, the coursework wasn't that diverse, but I don't know what it's like in actual specialized schools at higher levels, whether these things are discussed. I hope that they are, but as I have said in previous videos, I will be doing a later video on the, I believe it's 6 only, calls to action that have been acted upon out of 94 thus far. And the TRC was composed when? I actually don't know. I have to look that up. I think it was in the late 90s or early 2000s. Professionalism at its finest. That would be me. Next. Okay, under the new heading now of sports and reconciliation. Oh, I'm just going to shine here. Sports are definitely my specialty. Yes, thumbs up. Number 87. We call upon all levels of government, in collaboration with Aboriginal peoples, sports halls of fame, and other relevant organizations to provide public education that tells the national story of Aboriginal athletes in history. Okay, this one, I don't think they've done that specifically, but the kind of cool thing about Canada is that you would think that our national sport is hockey, right? It's the thing that we all seem to be really, really good at up here. No, our national sport is actually lacrosse, and that was a game invented by the Indigenous people. Basically, how lacrosse works, I've never actually played it, okay, so I don't know, but you have nets at the end of long sticks, I think. Like, imagine bug nets, sort of like you see in Animal Crossing, but with, like, smaller, net parts. And I think you have to go around and catch the ball that people throw in the air, and it can actually get super violent. But I have actually heard that the Iroquois Confederacy, which consisted, I believe, of 6 different nations, and on whose principles, by the way, America's Constitution was composed. So now we're not talking about Canada, but we're talking about America. But the Iroquois Nation and the Iroquois Confederacy goes between Canada and America. Remember that these nations draw their borders very differently from how we draw them. Basically what they would do in order to settle disputes between the different nations that made up the Confederacy, they would take people, throw them on a lacrosse field for as long as this thing needed to last, and basically what I have heard anyway is that the team that won got to, set the rule, or, they would de facto win the dispute. And I'm sorry, is this not so much better than war? Seriously. I am a pacifist, okay? To the nth degree, I am a pacifist. And the problem I have with war, among others, but the main problem I have with war is that it is conducted by people who have nothing whatsoever to do with the conflict. Nothing. So all these world leaders, while they sit behind their desks and push the button to let off the bombs or to give orders to their generals, who also sit behind their desks and give orders to their lower downs, the problem I have with that is that the people who are actually being murdered, this is state-sanctioned murder. That's what I believe war is, state-sanctioned murder. Same with the death penalty. But young people are dying for the sake of old people's power. Why does that happen? Okay? I'm not saying, okay, because this is a form of, what's it called? Not idealism, idolization, that's it. Hi, brain, thank you. I am not trying to idolize the indigenous cultures of North America by saying that they were across the board better than any colonial culture. That's not necessarily true. What I'm saying is that under certain circumstances, they could have had better methods of dealing with stuff than we've got. What I am saying is that intercommunication between the two sides of this equation would go a long way, rather than the colonialists, the settlers, putting down the boot and saying, might makes right, we are therefore better. That's not how this works. Or me as an idealist says that should not be how this works. Because power does not make for intelligence. Power does not make for kindness, necessarily. All it makes for is power. And in order to be powerful, you need someone to subjugate. I don't like that. So, rather than doing that, let's play lacrosse, okay? America, you just ended your longest war in history, in your history, anyway. Does the main population of America know what that war was actually about? I bet you don't. Go look it up. It wasn't for the declared reasons, I promise. Moving on before I get completely off track. Because that never fails to happen. All right, number 88. We call upon all levels of government to take action to ensure long-term Aboriginal athlete development and growth, and continued support for the North American Indigenous Games, including funding to host the Games, and for provincial and territorial team participation and travel. All right, just gonna flat out admit, I know literally nothing about this. But as I have said, various Indigenous nations will exist in the boundaries between Canada, America, and Mexico. Okay, going down further south here, because they have their own Indigenous cultures as well. So it's not just Canada and America. The TRC deals mostly with Canada because it's a Canadian document, but there are going to be nations that stretch just huge parts of the land. As I have said in a previous video, I gave the example of the Cree Nation. You're going to find Cree as far north as Ontario. You're going to find Cree as far south as Florida. Okay, that's just huge of land. Okay, I'm not saying that Cree are necessarily like all the way down that strip. If you were to draw a straight line between Ontario and Florida, not necessarily, because they could have been broken up. And of course, people were forced off of their territory and onto other territory. That happened with the Seminole in Florida as well. Many of them were forced into Oklahoma. Many of them were just flat out forced off their land. And with the Seminoles, I've been doing a little bit of research. There was more than one attempted genocide, like more than one time, where basically 90% of the then existing nation was killed off by settlers who wanted that land, or shall we say colonialists in this case. Okay, because colonialist, bad kind of settler. Settler, that's the more neutral label that we are given, as far as I'm aware, anyway, okay? But the whole idea here is that the different nations go between, globally recognized nations. So sports are going to be held in common, games are going to be held in common, events of these sorts are going to be held in common between the three different countries in question here, Canada, America, Mexico, right? And beyond that, I don't really know what to say about this one. I'm sorry, like I say, this is not my topic. But for anyone who knows more about this, tell me. Thank you. You're awesome and I love you. Next. Oh boy. Can you tell I don't know how to swim in this water or in real life? All right, 89. We call upon the federal government to amend the Physical Activity and Sports Act to support reconciliation by ensuring that policies to promote physical activity is a fundamental element of health and well-being, reduce barriers to sports participation, increase the pursuit of excellence in sport, and build capacity in the Canadian sports system as inclusive of Aboriginal peoples. Okay, this one, I'm going to talk about a really, really nasty stereotype. I do not believe this at all, okay? At all. There is a stereotype rampant in both Canada and America that Indigenous people are all fat, lazy, and diabetic. Stop it! Stop it! Stop it, stop it, stop it, okay? Stop it. I'm sorry. We brought them the horrible diet that we are more used to, evolutionarily speaking, okay? We eat a lot of meat, we eat a lot of fat, just all this stuff that is not necessarily healthy to the human system. We brought that over here. I'm not saying either that all whites are lazy and fat and diabetic, okay? We're not. What we did do, though, was very bad for the people here, because up until about 600 years ago, there had been no, off-continent interference with these lands whatsoever. They had been isolated for thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years. Human evolution takes a very long time, okay? The evolution of any biological life takes a long time, and I mean like on an astronomical scale we're talking here, okay? It took several million years for evolution to make something with a spine, all right? When, therefore, you very suddenly introduce people who have been isolated for that long a time to something completely new and foreign to their systems, it's not going to go well. All right? The people here have not had time to get used to, quote, the North American diet, which is not the traditional North American diet. And it's only getting worse, and we see that in America especially. Sorry, I don't mean to crap on America. This happens in Canada too. But obesity is becoming an epidemic. Doesn't matter what race you are, by the way. That's where the stereotype here lies, and that's the reason why I really don't appreciate it. This can happen to anyone who is exposed to the really, really, really negative dietary habits that we have developed through modern tech, basically being able to make food very quickly. Where do you think the term fast food came from? You can get yourself a burger within the course of like 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Whereas back in the day, and this is true of every culture, if you were hunting your food, the food that you ate went into your hunting. You know, it gave you the energy to do what you needed to do to get yourself your next meal. That's the whole principle behind, calories. Calories. Thank you, Philosophy Tube, by the way, for this recent video. What I am about to say, I give credit to Abigail Thorne for. Calories are as much a measure of anything as inches are, as miles are. They're real, but only because we say they're real. A calorie is a unit of energy, basically. How much energy can this food give you? Thing is, if you're not spending that energy, it's going to stay inside you and it's going to make you bigger, okay? That's what happens when people get fat, all right? That's how that happens. But the problem is with Indigenous cultures, as I say, because they evolved away from, interference from off continents, they are not accustomed to this diet, and things are also getting too cheap, too fast, just all this nasty crap that we produce for everyone on the continent now. And, it's the same wherever you have industry, shall we say. But, okay, if even we, white people, settlers, are, fat and lazy, why do we only apply that standard to other people who don't look like us? Like, I'm serious here. This really, really bothers me. The whole stereotype of, fat, lazy, and diabetic. That's stupid because A, we brought it to them, and B, we're no better. All right? I am the opposite of a white supremacist. I'm not saying white people are bad, obviously. Hi, I'm white. But we could be doing better by our fellow human beings. Okay? I'm speaking to, in particular, to the people in North America. All right? Oh my God. All right, next. Jesus Christ. I'm sorry, I didn't know it was going to make me this pithy. Next. Oh boy. Okay, number 90. And this will be the last for today. Lucky you guys. We call upon the federal government to ensure that national sports policies, programs, and initiatives are inclusive of Aboriginal peoples, including but not limited to establishing 1. In collaboration with provincial and territorial governments, stable funding for and access to community sports programs that reflect the diverse cultures and traditional sporting activities of Aboriginal peoples. Lacrosse is literally the only one I know about. I'm sorry. Okay. 2. An elite athlete development program for Aboriginal athletes. Can anyone in my comments name me a single Aboriginal athlete of whom you are aware? I literally don't know of any, and that's bad. Speaks either or both to my ignorance or the general media not really covering it. All right. 3. Programs for coaches, trainers, and sports officials that are culturally relevant for Aboriginal peoples. Cool. 4. Anti-racism awareness and training programs. That last one's really important, obviously. But, okay, with this one, with the sports one, I could have done the research. I'm really, really sorry. I didn't know that was coming, because I don't read ahead because I'm dumb. But, yeah, for anyone who knows anything about sports, please let me know. I'm also posting this on Twitter. I post all of these to Twitter as well, by the way. But, yeah, if you know anything about Aboriginal sports more than I do, i.e. lacrosse is a thing, and that's all I know. If you know more than that, let me know, please. Because sports is just not my thing. Never has been, never will be, pretty much. I got disabilities from head to toe, so what do you think, right? But that's all for today, folks. Thank God, because I didn't expect that to make me so mad. Oh my God, okay, we're freaking out about sports now. I promised myself I would never be one of those people. But here we are. Mind you, a lot of this is culturally relevant as well, so, I have the right to get pissy if I want to. Because, yeah, we don't have the right to suppress and or destroy cultures. We don't. And we need to stop doing it. And sports is one of those really important things in terms of the cultural context, because sports, like music, they bring people together. They can also tear people apart, but yeah, they bring people together. Like, you will actually see, the only 3 occasions, this is a saying I've heard, I don't believe this, I do not believe this, the only 3 occasions at which it is appropriate for a male to cry: weddings, funerals, and sports. Alright? I do not believe that. Not at all. Please, if you are a male, feel free to express your actual natural emotions, because keeping those bottled up is a really bad idea, not just for guys, but for everybody. So, yeah, I mean, if sports is your thing, and you find it not only culturally relevant, but something that can bring you closer to other people, the whole just bro thing, this applies to females too. I see it so much more as part of the masculine culture, at least in Canada, probably in America too, but I don't live there, so I don't really know. But yeah, let me know your thoughts, please, because as I say, I am staggeringly ignorant about this stuff. So that was the end of that section, though, thankfully, so tomorrow we can move on to the last 4 calls to action. Oh my goodness, and that's going to be the end of the TRC, and then I'm going to take a day off to do research, okay, on the, like I say, I believe it's 6 that have been implemented thus far. I think it's only 6, but I have to check. I'm going to take a day off to do research on which of those it is that have actually been, upheld or acted upon. And then after that, we are going to talk about the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, which I love. It's so very pretty. It's almost as pretty as you guys. So thank you for listening to me, A, get pissy, B, babble about something I know literally nothing about. And I will see you tomorrow, hopefully better organized. All right, so love ya. Bye.